What's good, YouTube? DM Gaming here, guys. Hope everybody's having an awesome day, morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you see in this video. I hope it's awesome for you. Guys, I was watching a video yesterday, and these guys were doing a podcast, and they're based out of Louisville, and they had Matt Brown on there. And he said some things about the game that I've been saying already, that I knew just from reading articles and stuff like that. But I wanted to let y'all listen to some of the stuff that he was saying, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna discuss it. So this is coming from the Third Banner podcast. Okay, they did have him on, but like I said, I'm gonna play it so that y'all can hear it, and we'll come back and discuss.
Obviously, you didn't have a ton of time when you played, and you do know even without playing, you've gotten some details. But did you get to look at the recruiting in the dynasty mode, and how did that feel compared to the past if you did?
Yeah. So I didn't get to play it, unfortunately, but I did get like a 2-hour seminar about both Dynasty and Road to Glory. There are two really big changes in Dynasty that I am excited about, even if I understand one of them might frustrate a couple of people. One of the things that I really like is a complete overhaul of the coaching skill tree system. So if you guys might remember from NCAA 14, you start out with your coach at like level 1, and as you accomplish tasks on the field or in your program, you get experience points that you can use to like level up different skills. And there was a recruiting skill tree, and there was like a game prep or execution skill tree. But everybody played exactly the same way. You'd level up recruiting max level, and then maybe you'd go back and touch some of the other things, right? And after three,
wonderful.
instant commit, yeah, right, and getting like 6 pipelines and always right, which you had to do. And if you by year 3 or 4 of your career, you'd maxed out all your stats. Then you were a superpower. So they blew that whole system up because EA is thinking no coach is perfect at everything, not even Nick Saban. So instead of like 2 trees, there's like 11 different trees. There's stuff that's centric to recruiting and scouting and development and motivation. And then there's like hybrid trees depending on like what skills that you want to level up. And your assistants also have similar trees. You have way more authority over your coordinators than you had before. So then I think you end up having this kind of interesting strategic question. Do you want to hire assistants that are good at the same things you are, which then gives those skills bigger multipliers? If you're a big recruiter and your 2 coordinators are big recruiters, you're going to be a terrifying force on the recruiting trail. Nobody may have any idea how to block anyone, but you'll get like that 4x. Or do you want somebody who's good at the stuff that you're not? Do you want 2 whiteboard nerds who are really good at being tacticians while you go off and be prime Dabo Sweeney? Who knows, right? Like I'm sure people are going to try to crack the meta and everything here, but like they're trying to say like there's not a perfect build. I like that. I like that there's now different ways to play that may be complementary depending on what kind of school you are or how you want to build your roster. The recruiting world is also very different.
So pausing right there real fast. So you see what I've been trying to tell y'all, and we actually talked about it in, I want to say the video I did yesterday about becoming a legendary coach, becoming legendary. The thumbnail had Nick Saban on it and stuff like that. Like, I'm excited for that because when you can max stuff out really easily, it gets old fast. And the repetition, because let's be honest, this is a football game at the end of the day, so there's going to be a lot of repetition. But by not being able to max out your skill trees and having so many different branches, like I didn't know it was that deep. I didn't know it was like 11 different branches in your coaching skill tree. This is going to be so cool because now we have more to attain. And through multiple, it's going to increase replayability because, hey, I went this route and it was like this. Let me do it, start over and go this route. Let me start over and go this route. You see what I'm saying? It's going to add so much more replayability and longevity to Dynasty mode that I can see us easily going 30 seasons and experiencing this. And to think that you can go 30 seasons and not max this out is crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted y'all to hear that from somebody that's played the game, somebody that's seen the presentation, so y'all know, like, I'm not just blowing smoke at y'all. Like, this stuff is legit. Like, You're not, even from a coaching standpoint, you're not going to become a powerhouse, a top tier coach in 3 seasons. It's not going to happen. But let's continue with him talking about recruiting.
Different.
Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna put a link to this video so y'all can watch the full podcast in the description box below. I thought I liked that video yesterday. Let me like that. And guys, they did do a great job of getting this information. So while we're on it, we're gonna click subscribe because it was actually a really good interview. I really like what these guys are doing. They don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, and you get a guy like Matt Brown on the thing. So shoot, go by, check it out, man, and subscribe. Let's try to help get them to 1,000 subscribers. All right, let's continue.
In large part to accommodate the transfer portal. One of the biggest changes I think folks are going to see, especially if you play like me, where you typically start your career at some bum ass 1-star max school, right? I mean, you try to build them up before you go. You're not going to start at your favorite school. Well, if you start at Akron, or if you start at Louisiana Monroe or something, and you have one really good season, you're still not signing 4 stars out of high school. Most of the top recruits are going to have deal breakers that require your program to meet a certain requirement, and I think it's 14 different classifications. Mm-hmm. And you can level up your program to all of those, but it will take time. In real life, Monroe probably has to make 3 bowls in a row before that changes a little bit, rather than I think in the last game or two when you could turn around your roster at recruiting very, very quickly. That process is going to take longer. And then when you're recruiting transfers, they're going to remember how you recruited them in high school. So then I think this leads to a very interesting existential question, right? If you're playing at, let's say you're Western Kentucky, you are very unlikely to sign a 4-star prospect out of high school. Louisville, you can do it. Kentucky, you can do it. Western, you can't. And you've got a couple weeks left. Do you throw a bunch of recruiting points and time at a high 4-star guy that you know you're not going to get, but you might be able to get when he hits the portal next year because he doesn't stick at Ohio State? Or do you spend that time on a project 3-star guy or 2-star guy that you know you can get, but might not be able to contribute for your team until he's a junior? That's a tough question. And what I tell non-industry people is that's also a very realistic question. That's how mid-majors recruit. That is literally what assistant coaches do when they go to high school. They're like, I'm going to spend some time with this guy, knowing I don't have a chance in hell of getting him in high school, but I might get him when he's a junior, when he doesn't stick at Stanford. And I want to plant those seeds now, and that might be the best way to get talent at a lower level school. So I think navigating how you develop your coach, how you develop your staff, and how you approach a much more complicated roster management world, rather than maybe just like the one true way to do it before, I think that's going to make for some pretty fun dynasty modes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I felt my one complaint about old.
Is it difficult to keep guys from going?
Well, I can't answer this completely without having played it, but what they showed to us, right, is you've got these 14 different variables that recruits judge each school by. Mm-hmm. And how important each of those variables to each recruit is going to be different. And during the recruiting process, you also might be able to manipulate how important some of those things are, right? Like if I'm Louisville and there's a 5-star guy that goes to video game version Trinity. Is it Trinity? Is that like the big time high school? Like
Trinity and St. Mary's.
Trinity.
Yeah. So right. So, okay. So let's say they're at Trinity in the game, right? And they're considering Ohio State. They're considering Texas and Alabama. And I, of course, am elite at location. And the recruit says, maybe that's not so important to me. Well, I can hammer location again and again and again. And maybe if I'm really good, I can get the recruit to care about that a little bit more. If they don't care about it at all, and I can't sell the other things that the other schools are doing, it's going to be harder for me. But once people commit, you'll be able to look at your roster and see what are the things that are most important in them staying on the roster, and you'll be able to look at this information, I think, relatively easily from a week-to-week basis. So you get an idea like what do I need to adjust, depth chart wise, game plan wise, other things to keep people I really want to keep, and if it looks like I'm not going to be able to do that, how do I adjust my recruiting strategy in week 7, realizing that, hey, maybe I don't have the depth that I thought I was going to have in week 2, knowing that there's some digital tampering happening here.
So there's a few things to take away from that. And like I said, I'm going to put a link in the pinned comment down below so y'all can go subscribe and show support for them getting that information from Matt Brown. But there's a few things to take away from that, okay? And a big part of that is, let me close out of this and we'll get y'all some B-roll footage here so we ain't staring at a blank screen here. Some few things to take away from that. Okay, and that is that, like I've been telling y'all, guys, really, really, really consider who you want to do your rebuild with, because now you're seeing why I said it's not going to be easy you're not going to build a powerhouse program in 3 years, 4 years even. You're not going to get 5-star recruits to come to Kent State, okay? It's not going to happen. Not in your first several years, not in your first couple of years. You know, like he even used the example of the way they kind of explained it to him. Like you'd probably have to go to a bowl game 3-4 years in a row before you ever even get in a position to sign a 4-star out of high school. Now, there is hope for you in that you could potentially sign one from the transfer portal. But the thing about it is, in signing one from the transfer portal, guys, at a smaller school, the way that it's going to work is you would have had to have previously, or it would be the way that it would possibly happen, because it would still be hard even then. But if you devoted some time to recruiting that particular 4-star while he was in high school, okay, let's say I got quarterback A. Quarterback A is a 4-star recruit, and I'm playing with Kent State, and I want to try to recruit him to my school. Like, being realistic, that's not going to happen. No 4-star guy. Well, I ain't going to say it's not going to happen because Travis Hunter went to Jackson State, but I digress. Y'all get what I'm saying. It's a very extremely slim chance of it happening that this 4-star quarterback is going to go to Kent State straight out of high school. But you have to understand that the transfer portal exists, and in this game, certain recruits, like the game, remember if you tried to recruit them in high school, guys. If you tried to recruit a particular recruit in high school and they don't sign with your school, they remember who tried to recruit them while they were in high school. So it's actually beneficial to devote some points, to devote some effort to at least letting them know that you're there. But it's a risk versus reward thing, because that player could potentially never enter the transfer portal, okay? And even if he does, it's not a guarantee that he'll come and sign with you just because you allotted some time to recruit him while he was in high school, okay? The downside of it is while you're kind of going after this guy that you know is not going to sign with you out of high school, you're taking away precious time and resources in recruiting guys that will sign with you, those 2 and possibly 3 stars that you can develop into those players. Does that make sense? So, and it is, like I told y'all, this game is real life, buddy. It is the most realist, close to real life game. And I'm not talking about gameplay wise. I'm talking about gameplay elements. The stuff that makes the game work is the most realistic we've ever seen in a football game before, because number one, these recruits are going to remember if you recruited them in high school. That's true to life. Number two, your coaching skill tree is so much more in depth than it's ever been. And I don't even know to the extent that it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm just excited to see it. You know what I'm saying? Number three, in the coaching seat, you're going to have to really pay attention to what offensive and defensive coordinator you hire, because some of them are going to come attached with some players that they have recruited, that even though they're not coming with them, you have the chance of bringing in some high level recruits who could enter the transfer portal potentially, because those coaches have recruited players who remember them, et cetera, et cetera. And then two, or no, what, I'm on number 4, I think I'm losing count in firing offensive and defensive coordinators. Some of your own players get attached to those coaches, and you run the risk of them leaving if those coaches leave. Number 5 in that, I've lost count at this point, guys. Number 5 or 6, I don't know what number we're on, but now you're really having to look at things from a coach's standpoint. Okay? You're looking at things from a coach's standpoint, in that now it's like, do I devote this time to get the guys that I know I can get here and build them into the players that I know I can build them into potentially? Or do I take a risk at this big time recruit and devote some time to him, knowing I'm not going to sign him I'm looking later down the road at the potential for him signing with a school and entering the transfer portal later on. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's a big risk, but it's a true risk. So, there is some balance there. There is some ways to kind of, put yourself in a position. But guys, I don't think people are truly ready for the sheer amount of opportunities and depth. That's the big word. I don't think people are ready for the depth that dynasty mode is going to have when it comes to coaching. Okay? Because when you put together recruiting, when you put together the transfer portal, when you put together the coaching skill tree, when you put together your offensive and defensive coordinators, like, bruh, building a program, guys, I hope that everybody or the majority of people have the mindset of, I want this kind of depth. Oh, and not to mention player abilities. And even what Matt Brown said, once you get these 4 and 5 stars are gonna have things that you are just your sub 5 conference school is just not going to be able to offer. They're gonna have things that you're just gonna be locked out of because your school just can't provide it. Okay, so you're not gonna sign a 5-star recruit at Kent State. It's going to take you some years, guys, to build up these programs to even get to the point of signing a 4-star. Now, once you're at that point, then you still have to be able to sign them. And even once after you sign them, now you're going to have to be able to keep them. So, guys, you can understand the true struggle that is before you in playing with a lower 5 class school. Like, dude, I'm excited about it. Because it shouldn't be that way. I shouldn't be able to build Kent State into a powerhouse in 5 years. That is so unrealistic. Appalachian State has been kicking butt for decades. They've knocked off 2 top 10 teams in Texas A&M recently. That was last year, I believe, or year before, 2022, I believe. And in Michigan, in the big house, in their own backyards. And they are still not considered a powerhouse program. While people do respect them, they know Appalachian State can be tough to play against, and they better play their best football. Appalachian State is still not drawing in 4 and 5-star guys. You get what I'm saying? So understand, and I understand at the time they beat Michigan, they weren't FBS and stuff like that. But still, y'all get what I'm saying, okay? It is not going to be easy to build your program. There's going to be a lot of working pieces in your dynasty mode, okay? So I hope that doesn't overwhelm people, because that's probably my biggest fear, is that people are going to be like, there's too much going on here. Me, I'm excited about it. The realer, the better. So even after you sign these 4 and 5-star recruits, or even your 3 and 2 stars, like Matt Brown said, there's going to be things like you're going to have to kind of pay attention to your roster week by week, because there's going to be certain things that these players are going to let you know, like, hey, I'm not getting a lot of playing time, coach. And if it's a guy that you don't want, then, hey, don't give him no playing time. But if it's a guy that you're wanting to keep on your roster, now I got to, hey, how do I work this kid into the game plan? How do I work him into the game plan? Or how do I change the scheme? The receivers aren't getting the ball enough. How do I change my scheme to kind of get them the ball more? There's certain things that we're going to have to pay attention to week by week to keep our roster happy. Roster management is a thing, and it's in 2K games. It's in other games. We've seen it before, so it's nothing new. It's new to college football. I don't know. I'm sure Madden will adopt this same element as well, but it's new. And this is something, guys, I'm telling you, it's going to be fun. It's going to make playing with the same team not so redundant, because every season there's something to gain. Every week there's something to build upon, and every dynasty is going to be different in that regard because of who you hire as your coordinators, the skill tree route that you go with your head coach. Like, all of these things are going to provide different experiences and replayability and longevity. Like, dude, that is so freaking cool to me. I don't know about y'all, but that fires me up. That excites me, because that was one problem that I had with 14 is I could take a lower class school and I could build them up to going to the national championship in 2 seasons. And then it's the same thing. What do I have to accomplish after that? My coaching skill tree maxed out, et cetera, et cetera. Now to know that that's not going to happen in that same time frame, that's refreshing. It's realistic. It makes it exciting. And I've gone back to the drawing board as to who do I really want to do my rebuild with because of these things. I mean, I could go with a Miami. I'd be able to pull in 4-star recruits at Miami. You know what I'm saying? SMU, I don't know. It might be a challenge to pull in some 4 stars. I'm sure they got some 3 stars. But, you know, can I pull in some 4 and 5-star recruits at SMU? I may be better equipped to do it there than I would be at like a Kent State or something like that. And then also, like I said, are we going to be able to upgrade our stadiums in Dynasty mode? Because if we're not, and you got to stay with that same 20,000 capacity stadium, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to play with those teams because it's unrealistic. If I play with that school and I stick with them for 15 years and we build ourselves into a powerhouse, in real life, schools to this day are upgrading their facilities and their stadiums to seat more. Like, that should be a thing. But at the same time, with that same concept, I could understand why they don't allow you to upgrade your stadium in the game, because Kent State in 10 years aren't going to be a powerhouse if it continues the way that it's going. So there's no need for them to be able to upgrade their stadium. But, you know, allow us to do those things. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited for it, guys. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys. Y'all been doing a phenomenal job. A phenomenal amount of support has been coming out from this. And I'm excited to get the game and bring y'all the content. So, and then we got the playbook series. I think I'm going to cover the air raid today. So, guys, that's all I got for right now, y'all. Till next time, thanks for watching. Peace.
EA Sports. It's in the game.